The Northern Ireland Protocol, something that is almost definitely going to probably dominate the headlines for pretty much probably for the rest of the year. In fact, it does appear that things are probably about to kick off over the Northern Ireland Protocol. So for those of you, a quick overview of what this is. So the Northern Ireland Protocol essentially puts a trade barrier in between the Republic and the rest of the United Kingdom. This was again proposed by the Brexiteers as a solution to essentially keeping away a hard border between the North and the Republic, and thus not destroying the Good Friday Agreement. Essentially, it goes a lot deeper than that, but think of that as like the quick Cliff Notes version of the problem that we are facing. Of course, this new border, shall we say, that they've created with the Northern Ireland Protocol has put new problems in because, again, less food is coming over to the Republic. It's disrupting services, it's disrupting businesses, and the real issue is that this border has full implementations, whereas our current border to the rest of the EU, we're letting stuff through. But this is but a taste of what will happen probably next year if the Conservatives can't stop kicking the rest of the regulations and the checks down the road that are set to come in October and March of next year. So really, it's just shall we say, a glimpse into the disaster that's going to potentially happen in our border in a couple of months' time, and at least next year in March. So this whole thing gets so stupid when you think about it, because this was again brought in by the Brexiteers themselves. This was brought in by David Davis, and then obviously Frost, who again championed this as solutions to solve this problem. But of course, the ERG at the time used this as a perfect opportunity to essentially flip the script on to Theresa May and essentially initiate their hard right coup to take over the Conservative Party, which is where we are today, which is why they immediately threw the DUP under the bus the first chance they got. And now this is going to cause so many more problems, but again, we're told, the Brexiteers tell us that this is a solution, this is unworkable, and yet they have no solutions themselves to actually solve this problem. Of course, the instant way to actually solve this would be us joining the customs union, the customs union and single market, solved instantly. So, let's jump into today's article then, shall we? But before we do that, as always, please do remember to hit that like, share and subscribe button. And of course, down below there is a link to my Patreon page, as well as a one-off donation link called Buy Me Coffee, where you can, buy me a coffee. And you can also join the Pony Club down below with the join button somewhere down there. So, on with the article. So, this comes from The Guardian, and the title is Pressured by Biden, Johnson may finally face the reality on Northern Ireland. This week's planned G7 chat on Northern Ireland between the US President Joe Biden and the British Prime Minister Boris Johnson can be brief. Biden will probably tell Johnson to stop being an idiot and honour the protocol. Everyone knows that there can be no erecting of borders across the fields of Ireland. Johnson knew that when he campaigned for Brexit. He knew it when it was decided. He knew it when he decided to leave the single market, and if he promised Northern Ireland's unionists something else, he was lying. He should get busy preparing an EU-compatible customs barrier in Belfast, as required by the protocol. Biden must then add that Johnson can forget any US-UK trade deal if he refuses. Not that any deal agreed by Congress is ever likely to be in Britain's interest. And again, we've seen that for all these other trade deals that we've signed so far. Johnson's entire approach to the Northern Ireland Protocol has been to procrastinate. The reason is plain and simple. He cannot both sustain Brexit and honour his pledge to keep trade open across the Irish Sea. Ever since the partition, it's been the case that if Ireland and Britain were no longer to trade freely with each other, the North would have to remain in one Irish market. There are various can-kicking proposals on the table currently, and Johnson could sign a temporary adherence to the EU's regulatory regime to allow time for more talks. Equally, the EU could also stop being so fastidious about checks, and especially those due to start this year on agricultural products. But both are just buying time, and either would kill any deal with US farmers. Ultimately, there are only two options. One is that the protocol becomes permanent, and Northern Ireland does indeed become part of an all-island integrated economy. For that, there are any number of sound arguments, which Johnson is probably too gutless to actually grasp. The other is that Britain extends Northern Ireland deal to the whole of the UK. In effect, it signs itself up to the EU regulatory standards across the whole range of goods services covered by last year's no tariff deal. In other words, Johnson eats humble pie and then negotiates a return not to the EU but to some version of Europe's common economic area. But we have learned much in the past year. Brexit is not a disaster but a bonanza. There are, quote, no great deals to be done with the rest of the world. There is no such thing as trade sovereignty. The EU remains Britain's biggest trading partner, and trade is not and has not been freed by the bureaucracy of Brexit, but swamped and damaged because of it. The EU may be partly to blame, but it has never had any interest in making Brexit easy. The naivete of Britain's chief Brexit negotiator, Lord Frost, knows no bounds. Biden should tell Johnson to get the Northern Irish tail to wag the dog. End the absurd battle of wits with the EU, and London has already signed up Northern Ireland to Europe's trading standards regime. Now, just join it. This has nothing to do with Brexit, but with the commercial common sense. Britain can resolve the Northern Ireland impasse at a single stroke, but in its own best interest, by negotiating a resumed close relationship with Europe's single market. Serious economists know this will happen one day, and Northern Ireland might cease to be viewed by London as a problem and become a solution. So, as you can see, we constantly talk about this all the time. This whole thing with Brexit was done to try and push, the Brexiteers wanted to try and push Europe as far away as possible, but that ain't happening. They're our largest trading partner. They ain't going anywhere. Brexit has not changed that. All it has done has added far more red tape and made our businesses far more difficult to trade into what are our closest trading partners. It's made us uncompetitive in that market, and as we've said multiple times before, if Brexiteers somehow think that British businesses will just be able to just pick up and move to these other markets somehow, that ain't gonna happen, because we've seen these trade deals overwhelmingly. The one with Japan is overwhelmingly favoured Japan by about 87%. The deal we've just signed with Norway, Liechtenstein and Iceland is worse than the deal than we had when we were in the EU and puts up more bureaucracy. This has caused nothing but problems. And yet, as was said there, this could be signed at a stroke of a pen if Boris Johnson decides that basically we're going to have to go for a closer relationship with Europe and join the common economic area. Again, it's not what they want, because again, they want to get rid of regulations. They want to get rid of Europe's grasp. But as was said there, any serious economist knows full well Britain will he's part of Europe. There's no escaping that gravity, that trade gravity. It is inescapable. And to be honest, Johnson and the rest of his Brexiteers are going to be adamant that this is impossible, that it's the Northern Ireland Protocol that just doesn't work. And then we get into a very interesting situation where they may very well, if they want to protect their precious Brexit so much, then they may even decide to throw Northern Ireland an independence referendum to see if it wants to join the rest with Ireland, and then they can truly be free. Of course, that is an option on the table, but of course Johnson does not want to be seen to break up the union, because if he does that, then he has to justify giving Scotland one as well. And of course, Scotland will probably vote to leave us. And again, so much for the vaunted Conservative and Unionist Party. Like I say, Johnson doesn't want that. But Johnson could easily solve this with literally a sign of a pen, instantly. So, as always, thank you very much for watching. Please do remember to hit that like, share and subscribe button on your way out. And of course, down below there is a link to my Patreon page, as well as a one-off donation link called Buy Me a Coffee. And of course, you can join the Pony Club down in the join button below next to the subscribe button. And as always, thank you everyone else for watching, and I'll see you all next time.